video, I'm going to look at how does astrology work, because I've had a lot of questions about how is sidereal astrology more accurate than tropical, and Vedic is more accurate, and So I want to address this because as someone who uses fixed stars, obviously the fixed stars have moved. It's very obvious. You can see it. Some of the most important ones, like for example Regulus, which was in Leo, has now moved into Virgo by precession. So you can see that they're actually moving. They're not fixed. So if you use fixed stars, you are using a sidereal system. For me, I think I get the best of both worlds, because the tropical zodiac is really interesting. And when you fix the zodiac to zero, to basically the equinox and the solstice points, you have, every year where 0 degrees Aries is. The problem with the Vedic astrology is that they do use different, I don't know what they're called, but they use different, they can't even agree on where it starts a lot of the time. So, which is fine. I'm not saying that the tropical system is the best, it's the bee's knees. But all I'm saying is they are kind of two different systems, and they're born of where their origins, The tropical zodiac is seasonal, and if you live in the northern hemisphere, you know that the seasons are life and death for you. You need to know when winter is. You need to know when to plant things. So it's a totally different system from a system that's born from Arabia, the Middle East, which is a lot different. It's desert. You can see the sky really clearly. They're not so dependent on seasons. Another thing that I think happens too is that anything that is Eastern is given a kind of like, I don't know, a bit of a mystique, that somehow it's more ancient and more just better somehow than your tropical Western astrology, which is also, and I agree with this, it has been tarnished by sun sign astrology and the way it's been commercialized, used in magazines, and it all boils down to the signs, and there's nothing else. So I know that the sidereal zodiac is not so based on the sign's meaning, and it's got the more traditional emphasis as well, and it hasn't become popularized because it's hard to popularize that, whereas it's easy to do it with the tropical system. So the tropical system, I think, suffers from the commercialized, pasteurized version that it's become, and so yeah, anything from the East is seen as a lot more authentic, But I'm here to prove otherwise, and just explain why in the end. I mean, I did toy with the idea of doing the Western sidereal, but then I thought, no, it's my astrology is different enough as it is without going out on a limb, and I want to be on the same page as everybody. I want to be, when I say, oh, this new moon is at 10 degrees of Scorpio, and I want to work with the seasons because I am a Greco-Roman and the seasons are really important to me, and the tropical zodiac astrology its origins are in Greece, and so are mine, so I am a big fan of it. But I also love the fixed stars, and I love the fact that they connect you with the sidereal zodiac. So let's look at a post I wrote, which was called How Does Astrology Work? So yeah, I wrote the post really originally to explain how horoscopes work, because you can read horoscopes in a way where it does make sense. And if you read for your rising sign, you will see that the sun goes through the chart in a certain way, and it will be in a certain house, and the houses have meanings related to the seasons. So I'm going to try and explain how there is a connection between human behavior and the seasons, and hopefully this will help you understand the very foundations of astrology. So All the star signs have seasons where they're working their optimum depending on where the sun is in the horoscope each month. So what I divided this article into was like peak star season times, which are different for each sign. And you do have your peak seasons, and these happen a third of the year. But then what happens with the other 2/3 of the year? So, most of the time we want peak luck and success. We're constantly asking astrologers, is this month good for Aries? Meaning, give me love, give me money, give me fame. But other times we need to follow nature's wisdom and just let go of the constant desiring. So we do have these cycles of achieve, receive, and recharge. That's what I've called them. So living cyclically is very hard to do in this linear world. We're expected to work like automatons and achieve 24/7, achieving, when's the best time I'm going to earn loads of money? When am I lucky? But nature and your horoscope are just not like that. It's a cycle and planets revolve. So I've simplified the cycle into 3 words, and that's achieve, receive, and recharge. So it's easy to understand once you get a grasp on how the seasons, elements, and modes play together. So the seasons are spring, summer, autumn, and winter, as we all know. Then we have the 4 elements, which are air, fire, water, and earth. Then we have the 3 modes, which are cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Now, this is the science behind astrology, which traditional astrology talks about, and I believe so does probably Vedic, but it gets kind of lost in the mashup of, sun sign astrology. So there are 4 seasons and 3 months in each season. So you have the 4 primary qualities that form the foundation of natural law. So we have heat that causes dryness, which becomes cold, which creates moisture, and that evaporates back to heat, and so on. So heat, dryness, cold, moisture, and it goes around. So heat is active, it's yang and it's masculine. Cold is passive, yin and feminine. Moisture blurs the lines and binds, and it creates harmony and empathy. Dry separates and divides, and it defines what makes us individuals. So the elements in astrology, the fire is hot and dry, and that resonates with summer. Air is hot and wet, and it resonates with spring. Water is cold and wet, and it resonates with winter. And earth is cold and dry, and it resonates with autumn. So now the planets are also classified in the same manner. So the sun is extremely hot and dry. The moon is cold and wet. Mercury tends towards dryness but mimics what it touches, so it's mutable. Venus is cold and wet. Mars is very hot and dry. Nearly as hot as the sun. The sun is extremely, so he's the hottest of everything. Ceres. Now, I've given Ceres my own interpretation, and I'm saying that she's cool and dry. Jupiter is hot and wet. Saturn is extremely cold and dry. So that's the actually it's similar to the sun, but it's cold instead. Uranus is very hot and extremely dry, so it's just extreme. Neptune is very cold and wet, and Pluto is hot and dry, but it's kind of hard to define. So the modes correspond to the changes in the seasons. So the cardinal signs correspond to the start of the season, taking action. It's a budding and it's a creative urge. The fixed signs is the height of the season where it's blossoming, there's little variation, and it's stable weather. And mutable signs are flux, unpredictability, endings and beginnings, and ebbs and flow. And they're at the end of the season. You can see these qualities in the signs, which are in essence seasons. All the signs are seasons. And those born within these sectors are rather like flowers that grow at a particular time of the year, and you can clearly see the characteristics and traits showing up within the different zodiac signs. So let's go through the signs alongside the flowers that they're associated with, and I hope they will aid in your understanding of the principle of tropical astrology. So we've got Aries the Thistle. Aries is cardinal fire. It's hot and dry. It's ruled by Mars. So this sign is the fastest, hottest sign in the zodiac. But it's the first, as well. So the cardinal mode makes this sign extremely impulsive and born to be a frontline warrior. The thistle is spiky, Mars, and looks like a crown, befitting a confident leader. So Taurus is the foxglove, and Taurus is fixed earth. It's cold and dry. It's ruled by Venus, and I think Ceres as well, but that's another story for another day. Cold is passive and dryness is self-sufficient. The fixed mode makes this sign very stable and receptive, very zen. And the foxglove symbols creativity and intuition. It's magical and frilly, which is very Venus in appearance as well. So on to Gemini. This is the lavender bush. Gemini is mutable air. It's hot and wet. It's ruled by Mercury. Moisture makes Mercury want to connect, and the heat makes it extrovert and flirty. The mutable mode makes this sign adaptable and unpredictable. Lavender gets everywhere once it's established, but finds it hard to root initially. Just like Gemini, it has many faces, many directions, and you can smell it coming, and its aroma lingers. Cancer, its flower is the white rose, and Cancer is cardinal water. It's cold and wet. It's ruled by the moon. Cold is passive, yet the water element will make the sign want to reach out and flow with others. Its cardinal mode will mean this sign is not as soft and mushy as it seems. It has a protective shell and tenacious claws, remember. And the lunar white rose also has thorns. So appearances can be deceptive with Cancer as the white rose. So Leo is the sunflower. How could it be anything else? It's fixed fire, it's hot and dry, and it's ruled by the sun. The flames of inspiration burn strongly here, while the dryness means Leo is a solo act. Creative and unique traits in fixed mode make for an invincible artistic king or queen. The dramatic sunflower with its oversized head sometimes has to watch its ego, but usually it just loves to smile at the sun or bask in the spotlight like a typical Leo diva. So on to Virgo, the buttercup. Virgo is mutable earth, it's cold and dry, and it's ruled by Mercury. Cold gives passive aggression, the critic, and it's dry as well, so it needs hermit time after serving others. Its mutability means it merges with others, so it can lose itself. So just like Virgo, the neat little buttercup is inoffensive and blends into its surroundings. Joyful and light, but poisonous to animals. It's considered a noxious weed. Never cross a Virgo. Libra is the red rose. Libra is cardinal air. It's hot and wet, and it's ruled by Venus. The wetness means Libra needs relationships, while the heat means it's extrovert and sociable. The cardinal mode makes Libra people someone you'd want to follow, and the romantic red or pink rose is its flower. So a dozen roses are the classic expression of love. A little schmaltzy perhaps, but still guaranteed to knock you off your feet. Yep, that's Libra. Scorpio is the geranium, and Scorpio is fixed water. It's cold and wet. It is passive in its reception, and what is fixed water but ice? Still, when Scorpio ice melts, it desires to connect with others deeply. The fixed mode will make it extremely loyal. Dark red geraniums are Scorpio's flower and have many facets as well. And the Greeks named it after the crane bird. So like Scorpio, it can seem a loop, and there are 400 types of geraniums, unique and unfathomable. So Sagittarius is the carnation. It's mutable fire. It's hot and dry. The heat brings active creativity, while the dryness wants the freedom to be individual. Mutability means it cannot keep still and is in constant flux. And carnations are a symbol of devotion and admiration. Sagittarius loves to worship, so it can idolize partners, and carnations are said to have grown from Virgin Mary's tears of mourning. So like Sagittarius, these blooms are bittersweet and religious. So Capricorn is the African violet. It's cardinal earth and it's cold and dry. Very much a winter vibe here with passivity and separation. And cardinal earth folk carry the heavy burden of responsibility, and it can be lonely at the top. So the African violet is violet. Why do I keep saying violent? It's not. The African violet is Capricorn's flower, understated, yet its velvety, soft petals feel luxurious to touch. This dainty purple flower is associated with motherhood, virtue, and protection, just like the parental qualities of Capricorn. So, Aquarius is the orchid. It's a fixed air. It's hot and wet. The moisture gives a need to connect with others, and the heat makes it proactive and outgoing. The fixed mode brings a fixation on ideas, but it's weirdly resistant to change as well. The enigmatic orchid is Aquarius's flower. This plant can't help standing out with its unique shape and funky colours. Its name derives from the Greek orchis, which means testicles. Revolutionary Aquarius truly has balls. I can't believe I wrote that. Anyway, Pisces, the water lily, is mutable water. It's cold and wet, extremely passive and receptive. It goes totally with the mutable flow. Wetness merges it with others and blends with its environment. The water lily is the official flower for Pisces. Worldwide, this flower is associated with spirituality. It represents rebirth and peace, but also simple pleasures. Like the water lily, Pisces can be the worst hedonist without a spiritual purpose, so it needs one. So I hope those flowers help you kind of understand the seasonal, the reasons that each sign has these kind of the characteristics that it does. There are definitely 12 archetypes there. So if we go back to the whole achieve, receive and recharge concepts, and I hope this will make more sense now after I've kind of explained. So you'll see that each sign has its own kind of biorhythm. So what blooms in the summer will be resting in the winter. On the other hand, a winter shrub could feel quite uncomfortable in the summer. So some plants need gallons of water a day. And, just like the water signs need to live near water so they can recharge. Others are mountain plants and thrive at different oxygen levels as well. So we're all different plants. So no sign is bad, just as no season is bad either. And nature needs the winter rest as well to ensure a good summer harvest. So when you read your sun sign horoscopes, the achieve months will be when the sun is in your angular houses. So that's the 1st, 4th, 7th and 10th. So that's why I have to read for your rising sign because it makes more sense. I don't know whether it works for solar. It probably does, But anyway, so the receive months should be when the sun is in your succeedant houses. So that's the 2nd, the 5th, the 8th and the 11th. And the recharge months should be when the sun is in your cadent houses, which is the 3rd, the 6th, the 9th and the 12th. So especially the 12th, like the 12th is the house before, for example, if you're Aries rising, then the 12th house will be Pisces. So when the sun's in Pisces for you, it will feel like you need a rest, if you have Aries rising. So anyway, cadent houses were considered a bit degenerate by ancient astrologers due to them being in decline. And angular houses are always seen as being the most active, alive and successful, which are the 1st, the 4th, the 7th and the 10th, the houses that are on the solstice and equinox points, if you like, as well. So during the astrological year, we should have the most energy when the sun is in those angular achieve signs, even though technically the sun is squaring our ascendant. And this is the weird thing, when it's in the 4th and the 10th house. However, squares deliberately get us working hard. So it's very hard to slack off during that time. And when the sun is in our succeedant receive houses, we should feel the rewards of our efforts and we might need to network. So we're probably more sociable at that time as well. So receiving is Venusian in essence, So it's quite a good time for our love life as well. We don't need to be so proactive. Things come to us, but only if we've worked hard in the achieve phase. Now, some people don't like the cadent houses, which are the last ones on this list, the recharge time. So when the sun is in our cadent recharge houses, it's time to rest and regroup. And this is a time we might come down with an illness if we've been overdoing it. This is quite a karmic place where we have to pay back any debts from being lazy in the receive stage. For example, if we didn't work hard in the achieve stage, we didn't receive anything in the receive stage. So we borrowed money at that time and now we have to pay the piper. So that's the karmic repercussion. However, there are overachievers who do not take time out to rest in the recharge time, which can be just as bad as slacking off in the achieve stage. So I know that sounds a little bit gobbledygook, but I will leave a link to the article below so then you can sort of go over it. But I just wanted you to get an idea of what's going on. So having this cycle going through the year is useful because it reminds us when we should be taking a breather and when we should be getting our skates on. And astrology is all about finding the balance. So it should be a map to tell you where you are, not a directive to tell you where you should go. You have free will, so it's totally up to you. So, it's like working with the seasons if you're planting in nature, if you've got a garden. People who have gardens or are farmers, they know. They work with cycles anyway. So the thing is, we've lost touch with all that. So at least astrology can kind of give us a feeling that we're in touch with some kind of cycle. So let's go with this example of transit. So on this map, your horoscope, there's a huge mountain, which is a Saturn transit, and you are in a recharge phase. So you may not want to pick a fight with Mars at the top of that mountain right now. Again, you have the choice to avoid difficult encounters, but you can't avoid Saturn forever, and nor should you. It's great training. So, you would pick a month when the sun is in your angular houses because you've got more strength then anyway. So, of course, 7 other planets are also doing their thing around your horoscope too, and everyone will have a different emphasis. So you have to decide for yourself what months are best for these 3 behaviors. But since we're looking at seasons, the sun can be the most obvious indicator of where we are energetically in the year. So what I've decided to do, I said I gave up writing horoscopes. And so what I've done instead is just given you the dates for the achieve, receive and recharge cycles. And then, just if you want to read horoscopes from other people, sometimes they can be accurate and sometimes they're just not. But I just think it's just better to understand the cycles in the most basic way, because the only way you can really get a proper reading is to do it, to have an actual reading, because then it's your chart there. It's not just standardized for, mass consumption. How can you ever get anything, accurate from horoscopes that are just, written for, 1 in 12 people, Anyway, so like I said, it's entertaining, astrology, and sometimes there can be a meaningful coincidence. Astrology was developed looking at bird omens, but if you're thinking of someone and you see 2 birds kissing each other or something, then it's like, oh, that's nice, that's a good omen. But do those birds make your love life good? No. And it's the same with planets. It's a big question anyway, but the simple seasonal journey does make sense, and that's why I wrote this article. I still think, obviously, I think astrology has a lot to teach us, but it's just doing it in the right way. Every mineral, vegetable, and animal on Earth has some correspondence to the 7 classical planets as well, and in modern times, we've kind of lost that connection between astrology, alchemy, biology, and chemistry. So, alchemy is a really interesting science to study. And that's why I want to put more energy into studying that. So if you like that, please like and subscribe. There'll be more videos on the science of astrology and alchemy and how to use it the right way and not to fall under the matrix spell of fear and control. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.